Welcome to another Illustrator CS5 tutorial with Diana. In this tutorial we're going to be learning how to create a seamless pattern and a pattern which we can use to fill any shape using the swatches palette. Patterns are useful. You can use them on websites. You can create your own wrapping paper. You can create your own backgrounds for design. They're most often used for fabric patterns, and they just make really interesting devices for designers. So it's good to have this up your sleeve no matter what type of visual designer you are. Okay, so in the last tutorial we learned how to create this character of a little girl, and in this tutorial we're going to be using this character and creating a background pattern. I'll create a new one by the side of this one, so you can see how this actually happens. So I'm just going into the document setup and I'm creating a new page with exactly the same dimensions next to the last document, and the dimensions of this document are, by the way, 225 pixels by 225 pixels. As long as it's perfectly square you can use it, but there's no advantage in making it incredibly large. Okay, with the pattern we'll start over again, and I will just copy and paste one of these and put it anywhere, and they're all exactly the same little girl. So I'm going to hold Shift and Option down to duplicate, and then Shift and drag one of the corners to increase the scale. Shift and Option drag to duplicate, Shift and Option drag to duplicate, hold one of the corners down with the Shift held down and scale it. Okay. Let's create a few more of these. I might make bigger ones this time just to give you the idea of what's important as far as the strategy goes. Now, with a pattern we need to make sure that whatever pops out on one side is also repeated on the other side seamlessly. So we'll pop out one of her pigtails on this side, we'll pop out one on that side, we'll pop her feet out at the bottom, and we'll just leave those three graphics. Actually, maybe we'll do one at the top as well. We'll pop her pigtails out at the top there, so the rest of these elements sit well within the space, so we won't need to do any hard work with them. What you need to make sure of is that the rest of her body is now seamlessly tiled on this other side. So to do that, I personally prefer to use this method. Now, different designers will maybe use their own method. I'm going to move my zero coordinates to the very top left side of this box here, and I'm going to set a 0 and a 0 point for the top left hand side of this pink box, and then I'm going to drag the other side across so that it covers her pigtail here. Now I'm going to copy and paste in front, so I've got a duplicate of those elements, and now I have one sitting inside. Okay, so as long as I line this up with the right hand side here and it sits smack on, see, it has to sit right up against the corner here. As long as it sits and snaps right to the corner there, I know that's in exactly the right position. So if I now release that clipping mask, I know that she's sitting in exactly the right position. And the same goes on this side. Now if I had two elements sitting out on either side, if I had two or more elements sitting along either one of these lines, I would need to make sure that I grabbed both of them and copied them both over, but I only have one instance of a character on each edge, just to make it simple for this example. Okay, so copy, paste in front, clipping mask, make, and I'm going to move that to the other side, and that's where her little pigtail will sit. And now this lets me know a couple of things: that I have one other element that sits too close to it, so I can move that kind of out of the way to balance it up a little bit. But now that's where that character will sit as part of the pattern. At the bottom, make sure it's 225 exactly. Okay, I'll just fill that with a colour. I'll copy and paste. Whoops, I will copy and paste in front. Control C, Control F, or Command C, Command F, and Command and 7 to activate the clipping mask. And then I'm going to move her little feet to the top. This is exactly where her feet will be, as per where she's been positioned at the bottom. That's where her feet will appear at the top. And Option, Command and 7 to release that clipping mask. And so I have three of these sides perfectly aligned, and now I've just got to do this little girl at the top here. Her pigtails are sitting outside the square, so they will need to sit inside the square on the other side. Now, aligning the clipping mask, aligning this box that becomes the clipping mask is not really important in any other way than to make sure it's sitting accurately on this line, so the width of it, the height of it, and also that it covers your entire object. Control C, Control F, paste inside, and then drag the top of it down, so that it lines up with the bottom, and that's where our pigtails will sit out at the top, at the bottom of the tail pattern. When you move it, just make sure you hold Shift down to constrain the vertical movement so you don't move it out of alignment. And then now we can just Command and Y to make sure we've got no unwanted bits of graphic information left over. I might just duplicate one more of these little girls and make this one smaller, maybe that one, 2, move that one up. Okay, so that looks alright. We'll just make a completely plain background for this one. I've just copied and pasted the one I'd used before. You can go to the extent of creating stripes, but I think I'll just leave it paler pink this time, just for the example, to show you how this works. Now this has to be exactly in the right place. And the other thing that Illustrator needs is a blank square. Copy and paste in front, and then remove the outline and the fill, and then Shift, Command and left bracket to move that to the back. Illustrator needs to have that blank square in behind so that the swatches palette then knows the parameters of your tile. Otherwise you'll end up with odd results and gaps. So now that's our pattern. That's the pattern we've just created. To place the tile pattern inside the swatches palette, all you need to do is select the whole thing and drag it into the swatches palette and let go, and it will actually sit inside there and you can see it. We can view this as a large thumbnail, so you can see the pattern there, and then all you need to do is create a shape and fill it with the pattern. You can create various shapes. You can create a shape with any tool and it will fill with that pattern as long as you've got it selected. You can fill a shape with any pattern that you've got in your swatches palette. So there you go. I'm sure you'll have fun with that.